Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tally Talks Bible. Today, I'm going to cover Genesis 4 through 8, which I'm going to have to break this up in kind of a two-parter. Genesis 4 through 10 kind of all follows along the same narrative, um, but for the sake of length of the video, I'm going to break this up into two parts. So this is part 1 that I'm going to do this week, and then I'll post a part 2 next week. Most of this is going to be just more of a read-through. I'll stop and pause here and there just to make some comments on a few things that I would like to address. And I have my NIV here that I'm going to start with. I do have a King James over here to the side. And I'm going to start with Genesis 4, verse 1. And it is titled Cain and Abel. Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, "With the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man." Later she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord, and Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor upon Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Now I'll pause here for just a second. If you've read further into the Bible, or if you know about what happens in Exodus, there are offerings given up, sacrifices for sin. This isn't talking about giving up offerings as a sacrifice for sin or anything of that. This is just giving up an offering to the Lord to show love and, more like affection to the Lord our God. I'm going to continue on with verse 6. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," he replied. "Am I my brother's keeper?" It's a famous line a lot of people like to say. The Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opens its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from you, from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." I'm going to pause here for a second and say it's mentioning others that it's not really stated where they came from. Now, it is believed that it is possible that God created others besides Adam and Eve that were already, outside the garden in Eden, which come later on down the story. That's kind of what some people think. It's not really stated that there weren't any other people, but it's not stated that there was. So I'm going to continue on here. But the Lord said to him, "Not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. So right there, land of Nod, east of Eden. It's a settlement. Cain made love to his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Again, other people, already inhabitants of earth. It's not really stated where they came from. Some speculate that this may have been a sister, a daughter of Adam and Eve. It's not stated. It's stated that Adam and Eve have more children, but they're not named like Cain and Abel are named. And inbreeding and stuff like that wasn't really a thing back then. because the gene pool was basically perfect. So they wouldn't have, today it's more like, inbreeding causes genetic defects and things like that. That wasn't the case back then. Cain was then building a city, and he named it after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad was the father of Mehulah, and Mehulah was the father of Methuselah, and Methuselah was the father of Lamech. Lamech married two women, one named Ada and the other Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who lived in tents and raised livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all who play string instruments and pipes. Zillah also had a son, Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, listen to me, wives of Lamech. Hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. Adam made love to his wife again. She gave birth to a son and named him Seth, saying, God has granted me another child in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. Seth also had a son, and he named him Enosh. At that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord. So now people are calling on the name of the Lord in prayers. Now, here we're going to jump. It's going to go in Genesis 5. We're going to go from Adam to Noah. When God created mankind, he made them in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them. He named them mankind when they were created. When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth. After Seth was born, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters, although Adam lived to a total of 930 years, and then he died. We were meant to live for eternity. But after the fruit was ate, that's when the cycle of death began for humanity. When Seth lived 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. After he became the father of Enosh, Seth lived 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Seth lived a total of 912 years, and then he died. When Enosh had lived 90 years, he became the father of Kenan. After he became the father of Kenan, Enosh lived 815 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enosh lived a total of 905 years, then he died. When Kenan had lived 70 years, he became the father of Mehulah. After he became the father of Mehulah, Kenan lived 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Kenan lived a total of 910 years, and then he died. When Mehulah had lived 65 years, he became the father of Jared. After he became the father of Jared, Mehulah lived 830 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Mehulah lived a total of 895 years, and then he died. When Jared had lived 162 years, he became the father of Enoch. After he became the father of Enoch, Jared lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters, although Jared lived a total of 962 years, and then he died. When Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. After he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked faithfully with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enoch lived a total of 365 years. Enoch walked faithfully with God, then was no more because God took him away. He is one of the few people that has stated that God just took him with him. Took him to heaven. And you'll have to excuse me on some of these name pronunciations. When Methuselah had lived 187 years, he became the father of Lamech. After he became the father of Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Methuselah lived a total of 969 years, and then he died. When Lamech had lived 182 years, he had a son. He named him Noah, and said, He will comfort us in the labor and painful toil of our hands, caused by the ground the Lord cursed. After Noah was born, Lamech lived 595 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Lamech lived a total of 777 years, and then he died. After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, I know this is kind of boring, just reading through all these names, but it just kind of sets up to where it gets to Noah, which is, like a lot of people know, is a very key character in the Bible. There's a lot of genealogies in the Bible where it's basically just this person had this son had this son, and that son. Later videos, I'm not going to bore everybody with all the genealogy, because that is some stuff that if you want to take the time to read through, you can, but I'm not going to list out all the names of all the people in these videos. There'd be some very long videos. So now we're going to come to Genesis 6, wickedness in the world. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit will not content with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. So, right here we're seeing that God basically was putting an age cap on how old humans were supposed to live to. After we just went through a whole list of people living 900 years, 500 years, now people are supposed to only live to about 120. And it also mentions the sons of God. The sons of God there's many interpretations, and then it could mean the fallen angels that came down with Satan. This Bible also states here the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and these are just spiritual beings. Sons of God were really kind of thinking it's referring to fallen angels, and the fallen angels, are taken up with these human women, and this is where the giants are coming in. So it's stating the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also after. So I'm going to continue on. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eye of the Lord. So if you remember back in Genesis 1, in the 7-day creation, you hear God repeatedly say, and he saw that it was good, and then he saw that it was good, and then he saw that it was very good at the end of all creation. Now he's saying, because of the wickedness and evil that's within the hearts of men, he regrets ever making humanity. So he's going to try to just start all over. And one person comes up, and that's Noah. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on the earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood, which is just wood. Make room in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. I'm going to kind of skip down some of this, because all this is saying is it's giving measurements on how the ark should be built. And I'm not going to bore you with the details on how the ark was built. I'm going to skip down from there. So this is going from Genesis 6:14. I'm going to skip over and go down to 17. Genesis 4:17 says, I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens. Every creature that has breath of life in it, everything on earth will perish. But I will establish my covenant with you. Let's first mention the covenant right here. And you will enter the ark, you and your son and your wife, and your son's sons. Excuse me. You and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. I got a little tongue-tied there. You'll have to excuse me. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of every kind of bird, of every kind of animal, and of every kind of creature that moves along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. You are to make every kind of food that is to be eaten and store it away as food for you and for them. Noah did everything just as God commanded him. So Noah is following God's command and doing what is asked and told of him. Now we're going into Genesis 7. The Lord said to Noah, go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made. Now you notice here, a lot of the Noah's Ark story is he had every animal 2 by 2, 2 by 2, which it does say here in Genesis 6, verse 20, 2 of every kind of bird and of every kind of animal and of every kind of creature that moves along the ground. You will come to you to be kept alive. But then it comes over here and says it again, to take 7 pairs of every kind of clean and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal. We haven't got into discussion of the clean and unclean animals. That comes later down the line. But this is just kind of the first mention of clean and unclean animals. Going down here, 7 verse 5. And Noah did all that was commanded of him by the Lord. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters came on the earth, and Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, of birds, and of all creatures that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark, as God had commanded to Noah. After the 7 days, the flood waters came on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, on that day all the springs of the great deep burst forth, the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Now we're seeing another pattern here with 7. 7's a pattern, and then the 40 days and 40 nights is going to be a reoccurring pattern that we can pick up as we continue to read. On that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, took together his wife and their wives of his 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, all livestock according to its kind, every creature that moved along the ground according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind. Everything with wings, pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them, came to Noah and entered the ark. The animals going in were male and female of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. So the Lord seals up the ark with Noah, Noah's sons, his sons' wives, and his wife, all the animals. The Lord sealed him up in the ark. For 40 days, the flood kept coming on the earth. And as the water increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The water rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits. We'll make a video, maybe a short video on measurements and what they mean. Every living thing that moved on the land perished. Birds, livestock, wild animals, all creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out. People and animals, the creatures that moved along the ground, and the birds were wiped from earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. So, I'm going to finish this off with 8. Chapter 8 is going to just go with how the waters and stuff started to recede. So, Genesis 8, verse 1. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals, the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent wind over to the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth, and the end of the 150 days the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month the tops of the mountains became visible. After 40 days Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground, but the dove could find nowhere to perch. There was water all over the surface of the earth, so it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove, brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days, and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was completely dry. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number." There that is again. He's commanding everybody, the animals. He wants Noah and his family to increase, multiply, to refill the earth. So Noah came out together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground, and all the birds. Everything that moved on the land came out of the ark, one kind after another. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of human heart is evil from childhood, and never again will I destroy all living creatures as I've done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, dry and night will never cease." So I'm going to stop right here. I've got a pretty lengthy video already. Next week I will continue on and cover 9 and 10. And I'll just do a brief summary of 10, but I'm going to go through 9 to 11. And that'll be part 2 of this discussion and this Bible read. I'd like to, as always, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you can always leave a comment asking them, message me personally. I really appreciate the continuing support. I didn't know how this was going to go when I first started it, and it's continuing to grow, and I hope it, continues in that direction. So again, just thank everybody for your support out there, and as always, God bless.